Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the January 6th fiery but mostly peaceful protest, the witch hunt, the persecution of people that were involved. There was no insurrection that day. The only person killed was a protester, Ashley Babbitt. And you've got several Republicans that are in full cooperation with the witch hunt, which, as of the midterms, presumably goes the way of the dinosaur. There'll be probably counter-investigations into the motivations behind it. You've got, at this point, fairly credible reason to believe that the majority of people that have any charges at all pertinent to that day, the minor charges, mainly simple vandalism, trespass, etc., disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, simple assault, a little bit more than those things, but still it's not exactly a high-grade felony. Essentially, people are being held, in some cases, in torturous conditions without bail, and yet you've got Liz Cheney and Kinzinger. They're going along with the January 6th witch hunt. So the RNC, though, this is the first time that the Republicans, as an organized movement, have had balls in a long time, and you can credit Trump with giving them their testicles back. They have officially censured Liz Cheney and Kinzinger for their role in continuing to promulgate bullshit. This is great, but we'll see if they keep their balls. Republicans are very good at rolling over and playing dead. A paralyzed goat comes to mind. There's a meme of that being the mascot of the Republican Party, because other than the populists and like the libertarian side, a Rand Paul or a Trump side Republican, generally the standard conservatives play the role, the foil, of being the ones that are supposed to lose with grace. So they put forth an idea. Democrats, or liberals more broadly, call it problematic. They say it's homophobic or sexist or something, or it's extremism. And they say, no, I'm not an extremist. And then they go out of their way to water down their own shit to be more palatable. And that's sort of the way that they've done business really since the 1980s. The last time that the Republicans enjoyed a situation where their party leadership had any balls at all and would do something like this really was the mid-1980s. Now, though, it's different. It's just a matter of making sure that they don't forget the fact that they are capable of actually winning things, but they have to not constantly apologize. They have to not constantly go along, fight on the enemy's terms, so to speak. You know, you're trying to beat the person who invented chess at a chess game. You're probably not going to do very well. They're trying to take the high ground on this and say, look, the January 6th protests, by and large, we're not talking about some of the organized groups that were there, but the vast bulk of people that were there were demonstrating, and it was legitimate the way in which they were doing so. And this is the truth. Again, not everyone that was there entered the Capitol. They did nothing wrong. Not everyone even marched to it. Of course, those people haven't been implicated in anything. They went to hear Trump speak and then went home. Only a small subset of those people even entered the Capitol, and the majority of them are facing minor charges. The fact is that even if you look at the minor crimes that were committed, vandalism, etc., they pale in comparison to the criminal injustice that's been done to them, partially because of the January 6th insurrection lie, the commission that the Democrats formed for partisan reasons to try to use this effectively as a political issue. The fear-mongering, the terrorism, far-right extremism thing, the injustice that's been done to those people is far, far greater than any minor damage that was done at the Capitol. A few shattered windows, a few stink bombs, or some trash left behind really is not meaningful. We saw far worse than that. Prior, when Kavanaugh, of course, was being considered, Democrats came and once he was confirmed, burned segments of D.C. to the ground, forcing the White House into blackout mode. They assaulted and seriously injured numerous people. And I don't mean, a cop killed themselves a week later. It's the result of the terrorism that day. No, I mean people were actually injured and harmed at the time. So we'll see, link in the description archived, of course, if the RNC can keep this up. Finally, there's actually reason to be optimistic to think that they will. Again, Trump is probably staging a return fairly soon. As of this month, his social media goes live. We're going to see what happens from them, but he's basically already hinted that he intends to run in 24. And if you run on the "Hey, do you miss me yet" platform, that could really work. because of how abysmal things are going. Now keep in mind, before I delve into this any further, and if I seem a little scattered, it's because the cat woke me up like half a dozen times last night, so my apologies. I didn't get really that good of sleep last night, and I still have to do a fucking live stream today. Keep in mind, there will be a pinned comment down below if you're watching this video on YouTube with links to other video hosting sites that I use. I make exclusive content every day on those platforms that does not go on YouTube. Today I may only make 2 exclusives. I know I'm getting lazy, only making 3 videos in a day. Would put them on YouTube if their algorithms didn't constantly punish people for being a workhorse. Unfortunately, even making 1 video in 24 hours, hell, probably I'm screwing myself by making more than a couple videos a week. I don't know. At this point, they haven't really made it clear. Here's the thing. I love it when people look at this and say, this is the GOP pandering to terrorists. Thank goodness for Dick Cheney's daughter for standing for democracy, and the dude whose name is mysteriously close to Kinzinger. The fact is that the Cheneys and all these other groups that are rambling about insurrection and disinfo and all of these other things lately, and engaging in cancel culture, we see the Joe Rogan debate still happening, calling the honkening in Ottawa, which is now planned for DC and other places too, by the way, calling that terrorism. Shit, one of the videos I'll have to make today is about the legacy media declaring the truckers in Ottawa to be staging an insurrection. They've besieged the city. They are terrorists because people are getting tired of hearing too many horns. Dude, you live in Ottawa. You already have to deal with excessive noise, jackhammering and shooting and people screaming drunkenly at each other at 3 a.m. I think you can deal with some horn honking against tyranny, but some of these people are basically MK Ultra experiment failures, I think. So it's very difficult for them to comprehend basic reality. When we look at this, though, the Cheneys are not on the right side of history. The fact is that, in retrospect, years from now, we'll be analyzing the January 6th Commission, saying it was a storm in a tea kettle, effectively. It means nothing. That it was politically motivated, that the people that participated were in the wrong for doing so, and that it was all hype. We know this. If we look at all the rioting and crime and so forth, politically motivated, by the way, and racially motivated, in the United States over the course of multiple years prior to January 6th, you've got dozens of deaths, billions of dollars in damage. You did have, according to this commission, I guess it was an insurrection attempt, you had an instance where thousands of people marched in and barged into the Senate's chambers, delaying, by the way, the Kavanaugh vote, then proceeding to riot violently thereafter, causing tens of millions in additional damage, again, forcing the White House into blackout mode. There was no commission. Nobody faced charges, or revolving door charges, for the Black Bloc members that showed up to attack the Secret Service. And how did the legacy media handle it? Well, Trump is a coward. He has the right to ignore the Secret Service when they issue a blackout order for the White House. He's totally unilaterally able to do that. There's no protocol in place as the result of actual legislation that takes him as a public asset and puts him in the bunker. So, that's cowardice. And the people there that were burning Wendy's were mostly peaceful. January 6th, where the protesters kill nobody, again, mainly face minor charges, although they're trying to throw the book at as many of them as possible to make this seem like it's justified, the January 6th Commission. That's considered an insurrection. Yes, they seriously tried to overthrow the U.S. government. How? By taking selfies. The fact is that Cheney should have been censored. She should be kicked out of the party altogether. The Republicans could become much better as a party if they would stop dealing with morons like this. Why are they in the party at all? And then Cheney's not going to win re-election. She might end up being on The View or something like that, but her approval rating, I think, is in the low 20s in Wyoming. She's not representing the wishes of her constituents. Kinzinger is on his way out. They shouldn't be in office at all. And I don't say this as a partisan. Some people try to do the apples to oranges thing, where they'll compare them to like Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema. They were representing the wishes of their constituents. Again, Manchin represents West Virginia. It tilts massively red. The people that voted for him and pay him predominantly are Republicans. He just happens to be of a different party, and the party's meaningless. Cheney represents Wyoming. as the representative. Wyoming is also deep red, more deep red, I believe, still than West Virginia. She is ignoring the constituents' wishes. They have made it clear they don't support this horseshit. They're not paying her to do what she's doing. She would like to morally grandstand, but I would like to ask people a question, and it's something that should always be asked of those that think that Orange Man bad, my insurrection, etc., etc. Do you believe that all of the evil, greedy, bought-out, warmongering generals and sleazy empty soup politicos and bureaucrats out there, and all of the sleazy multi-billionaires that, most liberals would say are terrible people because they have too much money, all of a sudden, them and the Cheney family of all, remember Dick Cheney in the Bush years? You remember how you called him Satan and Hitler incarnate? All of these people all of a sudden decided to get together to defend democracy. And it's just Orange Man bad. That one person tried to stage a coup like Nero or something, or Caligula, trying to become an emperor. Or I can go with common sense, say the sleazy billionaire class and bureaucrats and stuff are still sleazy idiots. They're still selling our nation down the river. They have been doing this for the better part of a century now. They're still evil. And Trump, not bad. Orange Man actually good. Orange Man did not attempt to stage a coup. Orange Man is blamed for that, having made a speech that ends with march peacefully, effectively. And that the people that were there were not attempting an insurrection. They were angry, righteously, I would say. Some of them committed trespass or vandalism, but there was no intent to overthrow the government. And that's the real truth. In retrospect, again, right now, you point this out, you're a right-wing extremist, a conspiracy theorist, you want grandma to die, I'm a disinfo, Ivan, you're a Russian, whatever. That won't be the way people remember it years from now. And again, even those of us who are relatively young still, core millennial, it's the same thing as the Iraq War. The Cheneys and so forth of the GOP promulgated the concept that Saddam was going to get a nuke. We have to go get Osama. We have to get involved more overseas. It seemed like a great idea at the time. There was oorah mass patriotism after 9/11, and you were a pinko, unpatriotic, and history was going to smack you in the face and the ass at the same time if you didn't support killing a bunch of people in the third world. Well, now in retrospect, the people that were all gung-ho for it said, oh, maybe it was a mistake. It was a bad idea. The same will be true of all the censorship we're seeing. We've seen that before as well. The TPP was once heralded as a great idea. You haven't even seen its primary proponents, of which Biden is one, bring it back up. Why? Because history didn't smile on the concept. Well, it doesn't smile on the concept of disabusing U.S. citizens of the right to due process. Certainly they're not getting a speedy and fair trial at this point. They're getting propagandized about by the legacy media. You've got censorship of people pointing this out by billionaires in legacy tech networks, although YouTube doesn't consider it problematic yet. In retrospect, at some point, it might have a TOS. Well, you disagreed with what Liz Cheney said. This is verboten on the platform. We could see that at some point. But they're all on the wrong side of history. We know this because of the viciousness and vociferousness of how they're peddling this. It's almost like desperation. They need wall after wall after wall of propaganda in order to make the story to the American people that there was anything beyond a riot that day. It did devolve into a riot. Predominantly it was protesters even during that, but it was never an insurrection. It's good to see Liz Cheney censored, but they should go further. They should kick them physically out of the party and refuse to give them any support. If she's such a wonderful, staunch ally of democracy, she should be able to run as an independent now, shouldn't she? There's no problem there. Let her go speak through her megaphone to her dwindling echo chamber, with which she hopes to start a non-political career, I'm sure. Again, working for CNN or The View. And it's probably good advice for her as well. You should be looking for a different job because I don't imagine you'll be in your position come the midterms. That's about all. Peace out.